You will always tell me everything about yourselves because you so desperately want to matter. And the most important thing you ever told me was in April 2005. It was a day I gave you my greatest idea. I gave you the WWE Spinner Championship. All you have to do is Google negative comments about the spinner belt. You all told me loud and clear how stupid I was because I changed your championship into a toy, and the championship is not a toy.
If it's happening in professional wrestling, we're breaking it down. The matches, the moments, the rumors, and yes, even the hot takes. This is Pro Wrestling Focus. No nonsense, no wasted motion, just pure wrestling talk. Now, here's your host, Cody Springer.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining me this week as we dive into more wrestling talk. We've got some exciting things to break down, and of course, we've got some things to rant about, because what's wrestling without a little frustration, right? But before we get into it, I just want to take a second to reflect on how different things are now compared to when I first started podcasting about wrestling. When I first got into this back in 2010, 2011, the business felt stagnant. WWE was in the middle of the PG era, and while there were some bright spots, a lot of it felt predictable and boring. TNA was trying to make waves, but they kept shooting themselves in the foot, and outside of that, there wasn't much going on. The independent scene was thriving, sure, but mainstream wrestling felt like it was in a lull. Fast forward to today, and it's a completely different world. Wrestling is red hot again. WWE is on fire with some of the best storytelling we've seen in years. AEW, for all of its flaws, has created competition. TNA is rebuilding, and even the indies have more eyes on them than ever before. There's just so much happening. And as someone who's watched this business go through its ups and downs, it's exciting to be back behind the mic at a time where wrestling is this damn good. So with that said, let's get into it. All right, I'm going to start off with SmackDown, talk about the Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk confrontation. You know, the big headline going into SmackDown this week, or last week, was the confrontation between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk. And let me tell you, it absolutely delivered. This wasn't just the segment of the night. It was the talking point coming out of the show. All three guys had their moments, but for me, the standout was without a doubt CM Punk. First off, Punk's ability to cut through all the nonsense and get right to the heart of the matter is what makes him so compelling. And let's talk about that line when he called Seth Rollins Grimace. Man, I'm telling you, I lost it. That was perfect. And seriously, what was Rollins wearing? The man looked like he was fresh out of a bedtime story, like he just rolled out of bed in silk pajamas, stretched a little, and decided, yeah, this is my confrontation outfit for tonight. I mean, this dude dresses like a madman, and I respect the commitment to the bit, but sometimes you gotta wonder if he's raiding Elton John's closet blindfolded. But beyond the comedy, the real meat of the segment was the dynamic shift happening between Paul Heyman Roman Reigns, and Punk. We've all been waiting for this favor Heyman owes Punk to come into play, and this week we got the biggest tease yet. The second that Punk turned to Heyman and said, "Thank you for delivering your tribal chief on a silver platter for me tonight." You could feel the tension. It was a genius move by Punk because it planted that seed of doubt in Roman's mind. You could see it on Reigns' face. Just for a split second, he started wondering if Heyman really is as loyal as he claims to be. Yeah, I think this is leading to something huge at WrestleMania. If Heyman turns on Roman and aligns himself with Punk again, that would be a seismic shift in WWE. But here's the thing, this could also be a red herring. WWE wants us to think that Heyman's loyalty is wavering. But what if he's just playing Punk? What if the favor is something completely different? Something that actually screws Punk instead? I think it's unlikely, but you can't discount the possibility. Either way, this is exactly the kind of layered storytelling that makes big WrestleMania feuds feel important. The intrigue, the tension, the mind games. This is why CM Punk is such an asset to WWE, and why Roman Reigns continues to be such a compelling character. This is must watch right here, and I cannot wait to see how it plays out. All right, let's talk about this Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte Flair segment from SmackDown. While I'll give WWE some credit for slightly improving upon last week's disaster, where we got an overproduced mess of security guards, officials, and not one, but two Tiffany dives that didn't even touch Charlotte. This still didn't do much to get me hyped for their match at WrestleMania. Now, I saw a lot of people online saying that Charlotte, quote-unquote, buried Tiffany in this segment. And honestly, I don't think that's what happened. And before anyone thinks I'm jumping to Charlotte's defense, that's not the case either. To me, Charlotte came into this segment prepared, delivered her lines with confidence, and that was that. The problem is that Tiffany didn't come out of this segment looking great. And that's not on Tiffany herself, it's on the writing. This feud has been ice cold. WWE really needs to do something to salvage it before WrestleMania, but the question is, what can they even do at this point? We are running out of time, and this match, which should feel like a major moment for Tiffany Stratton, instead feels like the least compelling bout on the WrestleMania card. That's a huge problem. And here's the bigger issue. This isn't just a one-off bad feud. WWE completely dropped the ball with both women's title matches heading into WrestleMania this year. The stuff happening on Raw with Bianca Belair, Io Sky, and Rhea Ripley is a mess in its own way. But at least it feels eventful. This, on the other hand, feels like it's just happening with no real momentum or emotional investment behind it. And it's frustrating because WWE has one of the most stacked and talented women's rosters in the history of the business. Yet somehow, we've ended up in a situation where the biggest show of the year has both women's title programs feeling underwhelming. Meanwhile, some of the top men's storylines heading into WrestleMania are absolutely killing it. We're talking career-defining moments, layered storytelling, and real stakes. But when it comes to the women's division, it feels like Triple H has put way too much trust in the writing team to make these stories work on their own, and they've fumbled it. At the end of the day, WWE needs to start treating its women's feuds with the same level of attention, urgency, and storytelling depth as they do with the men's. Because right now, this build for Charlotte versus Tiffany isn't making either one of them look better. It's just making me care less about their match. And that's the last thing you want heading into WrestleMania. Man, let's talk about Randy Orton and Kevin Owens because this feud is heating up. First off, that crowd in Bologna, Italy, absolutely electric for Randy Orton. They were chanting his name, singing along to his theme song, and just losing their minds for him. Honestly, I think he got the biggest pop the entire night, and that just goes to show how much fans still love Orton after all these years. He's one of those rare guys who, no matter how long he's been around, still feels special every time he steps into the ring. Now, as for the actual storyline, man, I love what they're doing here. They're subtly teasing the return of the old school, dangerous Randy Orton. You know, the one who used to pump people in the head and take them out for months. That version of Orton was top-tier heel material. But this time around, he's the babyface, and Kevin Owens is the one doing all the dirty work. Owens has spent the last few months trying to end people's careers, constantly blaming others for his failures and just being a straight-up menace. But now, it looks like karma might finally catch up to him at WrestleMania when he steps into the ring with the Viper. And the best part, the storyline is writing itself. Orton wants revenge, plain and simple. Kevin Owens cost him 4 months of his career with that pile driver, and Orton hasn't forgotten. The beauty of this feud is that it feels personal. It's not about titles or authority figures. It's just one guy looking to even the score. I also have to highlight Orton's promo here because that fight Owens fight, more like bitch Owens bitch line, absolutely savage. The way he delivered it, the crowd eating it up, it was perfect. Owens has been playing the role of an unhinged, reckless aggressor for months, but now he's got Orton, who is just as dangerous, if not more, coming after him, and that's a scary sight. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this story progresses next week and as we get closer to WrestleMania. If Orton fully taps back into that vicious side of him while still keeping the crowd on his side, we could be in for an absolutely brutal match between these two. WrestleMania is shaping up to be must-see, and this feud is one of the reasons why. All right, now let's transition over to talking about the stuff from Monday Night Raw, and we'll talk about Io Sky, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley. Oh man, WWE is really taking the most roundabout, overly complicated, and completely unnecessary path to get to the inevitable triple threat match at WrestleMania. And quite frankly, it's starting to feel insulting as a fan to sit through this pretend uncertainty when we all know damn well where this is going. So let's break it down. Adam Pearce comes out to address last week's controversy, if we can call it that, where Rhea Ripley, who was not scheduled to be in the WWE Women's World Championship match at WrestleMania, signed her name onto the contract anyway. Now, logically, that should have been an easy fix. Pierce should have just voided the contract and made an official ruling right then and there, but instead we get this long, drawn-out charade where he teases a decision only for every single woman involved in the storyline to come out and argue their case. The segment turns into an all-too-familiar WWE trope. A bunch of wrestlers all talking over each other, tensions escalating, and right when it seems like a full-blown brawl is about to break out, the authority figure finally steps in with a ruling, and what does Pierce do? Instead of cutting through the BS and saying that we already know to be true, that Rhea Ripley is going to be in the WrestleMania match, he announces that next week on Raw, Rhea Ripley will get her rematch against Io Sky, and whoever walks out as champion will go on to face Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. And if that wasn't enough, later in the show, Pierce adds another layer to this needless overcomplication. Bianca Belair will be the special guest referee for that match. Are you kidding me? WWE is bending over backward to try to make this seem like it's not an obvious setup for a triple threat, and it's honestly insulting. They're treating the audience like we're dumb, as if we haven't seen this exact pattern play out countless times before. We know next week's match is ending in chaos. We know Bianca is going to be put in a position where she has to make a controversial call. We know this is going to lead to Adam Pearce coming out, acting like he has no choice, and announcing the triple threat anyway. So my question is, why are we wasting time? This should have been made official weeks ago. If Pearce really wanted to settle this issue, he should have just came out and said, due to legal complications and the fact that Rhea Ripley signed the contract, I have to add her to the match at WrestleMania. Boom, done. That's all it would have taken. And from there, WWE could have spent the next 3 weeks building heat between these three women. Instead, we're getting a completely unnecessary rematch that only serve as a cheap way to delay the inevitable. It's incredibly frustrating as a fan to see WWE take such a lazy, meandering approach to what should be one of the biggest women's matches at WrestleMania. Instead of making this feel like a huge showdown, they're playing these ridiculous games, pretending like we don't see the obvious, and dragging things out for no reason. It's infuriating. And the worst part, this match desperately needs an actual build-up. Right now, this feels like one of the coldest women's title matches heading into WrestleMania in years. Meanwhile, over on SmackDown, Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton has also suffered from a lackluster build. The fact that both women's title matches this year feel so underwhelming, and I'm going to curse here because I feel like it's warranted, it's just flat out unfucking acceptable. The women's division in WWE has some of the most talented wrestlers in the world, but the creative team is giving them scraps. This is why I keep saying that while Triple H has done a great job with a lot of the men's storylines heading into WrestleMania, the same cannot be said for the women's division. It honestly feels like he's put too much faith in his writing team, thinking they put together compelling stories, when in reality they've done the bare minimum. So next week, we're going to have to sit through this completely predictable rematch between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. It's going to break down into chaos. Bianca Belair is going to get caught in the middle, and Adam Pearce is going to come out looking shocked as if he didn't see this coming. Ooh. And before finally making the triple threat official. And in the end, we will have wasted weeks of TV time when they could have been focused on making this match feel important. At this point, WWE just needs to get on with it. Stop dragging your feet, stop pretending we don't see through the obvious, and start actually building towards WrestleMania instead of wasting time with these pointless detours. let's talk about Cody Rhodes and John Cena. The Cody Rhodes and John Cena segment from Raw this week may have not been as explosive as it was last week, but this storyline is still the hottest thing going on in WWE. The energy didn't dip. It just took a slight breather, allowing Cena to really settle into, his newfound heel persona. And let me tell you, Cena doubled down on everything he did last week. He came out in the same getup, same music, same smug energy, and kept ripping into the fans. And the moment that really stood out was that Cena directly referenced the kid that he humiliated last week, calling him pathetic. Wow, that's cold. That's not just a heel move. That's sociopath villain energy. Cena isn't just dismissing the fans. He's relishing in their anger. This isn't just about getting booed. Cena wants the audience to hate him. He's making sure they feel it. Then we got to the part of the promo that I found really interesting. Cena talking about the Spinner Championship. We all remember the Spinner belt. It was the symbol of peak Super Cena in the mid-2000s. And Cena knows how controversial that belt was. He brought up how fans hated it, how they thought it looked like a toy, and how much backlash it got. And let me say, I actually liked the Spinner belt when Cena held it. It fit his character. But when WWE just kept the damn design for years, even after Cena lost it, that's when it got ridiculous. Watching guys like Edge, Triple H, and even Randy Orton hold that title just felt wrong. It was like WWE was just keeping the belt warm for Cena until Vince McMahon was ready to hand it back to him. But the part of Cena's promo that really made me perk up was when he got psychological. Cena told the fans that he knows them better than they know themselves, but that they know nothing about him. Cena has spent decades catering to these fans, being the ultimate company guy, bending over backward for WWE's global brand, and now after everything, he's flipping it on them. He's making them question whether they ever truly understood him. And then Cena went nuclear. He flat out said he is going to ruin wrestling for every fan, every wrestler, everyone. That's insane. That's not just Cena trying to win a match. That's Cena trying to destroy the industry as we know it. And here's the thing. If Cena does win at WrestleMania, I would not be shocked if he brings back the Spinner Championship as a final middle finger to the fans. Imagine the sheer rage that would generate. It would be brilliant heel work. Then came Cody Rhodes, who wasn't here to play games. Cody laid it all out and told Cena that if he's going to take the championship from the fans, he has to take it from him first. And I love the way Cody laid the title in front of Cena, basically daring him to take it. That's symbolism, that's a statement. Cody making it clear that he isn't just fighting for himself, he's fighting for the entire WWE Universe. And of course, in classic heel fashion, Cena backed down. He teased like he might take Cody up on the challenge, but instead he walked away. And Cody hit him with the final gut punch, saying, "You're walking away empty-handed tonight." And that's exactly how you're going to walk away at WrestleMania. So while this week wasn't as explosive, it solidified the heat between these two. Cena's heel turn has been amazing, and he's thriving in this role. He's completely shredding the fans, and what's crazy is they're eating it up. They love hating him. This is the best kind of heel heat. It's earned, it's genuine, and it's compelling. Now next week is where things get interesting. Raw is in London at the O2, and I've been saying it for weeks. I fully expect the final boss, The Rock, to show up. And if he does, business is about to pick up in a major way.
It's time to dive into the latest news and rumors from around the pro wrestling industry. Some of it's fact, some of it's speculation, but we'll break it all down and separate what's real from what's just making headlines. Remember, if it's not confirmed, it's just a rumor. But that won't stop us from talking about it.
All right, let's talk about Saraya leaving All Elite Wrestling, AEW. It's a move that honestly, I'm happy for her. It feels like a decision that she really thought through. More importantly, it feels like that she left on her own terms. When she came into AEW, she had a clear purpose to help elevate the women's division and be a part of something fresh. And while she did contribute, if we're being completely honest, the only people she truly elevated were two former WWE stars, Toni Storm and Ruby Soho, when they formed the Outcasts. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing because, let's face it, Toni Storm is practically the biggest women's star AEW has right now. But when it comes to fresh AEW talent, she didn't make as big of an impact as many had hoped. To her credit, Saraya did put over Jamie Hayter and Hikaru Shida at different points, and I do think her return to the ring was a great story. The fact that she even got to wrestle again after years of thinking she never stepped foot in a ring, that's inspiring. She even won the AEW Women's World Championship, which was a huge moment for her. But once that moment passed, AEW just didn't seem to have much for her, and that's where the problem lies. She wasn't being used. Now let's talk about AEW's approach to talent lately, because this isn't just a Saraya issue. I've noticed a pattern. Tony Khan has been quietly letting go of talent that he isn't using on TV on a regular basis. And I have to wonder, is this a sign that his father is stepping in and telling him it's time to start cutting costs? Because let's be real, Tony has been handing out insanely high contracts, sometimes paying talent 10 times what they're actually worth. Don't get me wrong, that helped raise the pay scale across the industry, which is great for the wrestlers, but at some point the business side catches up. You can't keep throwing money around if you're not making a return on your investment. But back to Saraya, whatever the circumstances, I respect her decision. She's had a rough road in her career, from injuries to personal struggles, and she's come out the other side. And who knows, maybe this isn't the end of her wrestling journey. Maybe at some point she finds her way back to WWE. I'd love to see that, because if we're talking about trailblazers in women's wrestling, she's one of them. From being the first ever NXT Women's Champion to ushering in a new wave of women's wrestling, Saraya's contributions matter. So whatever she ends up next, I hope she finds happiness, purpose, and success, because she deserves it. There has been some footage circulating online from a WWE live event in Nottingham, England, and let me tell you, this is one of the most disgusting things I've seen from a wrestling fan in a long time. CM Punk and Cody Rhodes teamed up that night, and after the match, Punk was interacting with fans, taking selfies, and just being a good guy. When suddenly, this woman, who we now know is an OnlyFans content creator. Now, I don't have any issue with people doing OnlyFans. Get your money however you see fit. but she started touching Punk inappropriately. She was rubbing his shoulders like she was giving him some kind of sensual massage. Punk immediately pulled away, clearly uncomfortable, and instead of taking the hint, she tried again. And that's when Punk finally had enough and outright told her, "I will punch you in the face." Now, some people might say, oh, Punk was too aggressive. No, he wasn't. If the roles were reversed and if a male fan kept touching a female wrestler after she pulled away, people would be losing their minds. And rightfully so. So why should CM Punk have to tolerate that kind of behavior? He's not here for your fantasy. And just when you think it couldn't get worse, it does. A few moments later, Cody Rhodes, who was in the same area of the crowd, trying to interact with kids, when that same woman grabbed his hand, pulled him towards her, and tried to grab his neck like she was about to kiss him. Are you kidding me? Cody was visibly uncomfortable, and honestly, I don't blame him at all. Imagine just trying to do your job, and a random person starts grabbing on you like that. And let's not forget, he's married. You know, Brandy Rhodes would not have tolerated that nonsense for a second. But here's the real question. What was this woman's actual goal? Was she trying to seduce Punk or Cody? Was she hoping one of them would flirt back so she could get something out of it? Was she planning to record something for her OnlyFans? Because the more I think about it, the more disturbing it gets. There are people who fake entire scandals just to get clout. So who's to say she wasn't trying to bait them into some sort of compromising situation? It sounds dramatic, but in this day and age, you never know. And let me just say this, security should have thrown this woman out immediately. The moment she put her hands on Punk the first time, she should have been escorted out of the building. But nope, she was allowed to stay, and she then escalated her behavior with Cody. That's a total failure on the part of WWE's security. If this had happened to Liv Morgan or Rhea Ripley, I guarantee security would have been on top of it. But because it was men, it got brushed off? Absolutely not. Wrestlers, regardless of gender, deserve to feel safe at their own events. And let's be real, this woman should be counting her blessings that Brandy Rhodes and AJ Lee weren't anywhere near that arena, because let me tell you, those two do not play when it comes to their husbands. AJ and Brandy would have handled that situation real quick, and this chick would have been leaving Nottingham with more than just a few bad social media posts about her. At the end of the day, this is unacceptable. This woman crossed a major line, and people need to stop downplaying it because it was CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. If we as fans don't call out behavior like this, it's only going to keep happening. Wrestlers give so much to entertain us, and they don't owe us anything beyond that. They're not here for you to touch, they're not there for your personal fantasy, and they're not props for your clout chasing. So congratulations to this woman, you made a complete ass of yourself in front of the entire wrestling world. I hope it was worth it. All right, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful said on The Hump, when asked about the decline in SmackDown's quality, that many people brought it up as they feel the show hasn't been up to par lately. He said, yes, there has been. A lot of people have brought it up. They don't feel like it's been up to par as of late, and I certainly understand it, and I agree with it. There are a lot of people wondering why more talent isn't being used. It's 3 hours. You know, this is a real conversation that needs to be had because SmackDown has declined in quality. And Sean Ross Sapp isn't the only one noticing it. The fans are noticing it. The wrestlers are noticing it. And even the people in WWE are probably very aware that the show hasn't been hitting the way it should. And while there still has been some good segments and good matches in recent weeks, there's no denying that something feels off. And for me, the biggest problem is that SmackDown being 3 hours long is killing the show. Well, I mean, let's be real. The entire time SmackDown was on Fox, it was 2 hours. And for the most part, it was a strong show. But now that it's on USA Network and locked into that 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. time slot, it's exposing the creative team's biggest weaknesses. You're taking what was a tight 2-hour show and stretching it out over 3 hours, which leads to filler, dragged out segments, and a noticeable dip in quality. Raw, on the other hand, has freedom now that it's on Netflix. They can go 2 hours and 15 minutes if they want. They can go 2.5 hours. They can use the full 3 hours or not. SmackDown, locked in. No flexibility, no room to breathe. It has to fill those 3 hours no matter what. And if the stories aren't strong enough, you feel it. Now, a lot of people are throwing blame at Road Dogg, since he's once again a lead writer for SmackDown, but I don't think you can just point at one person and say, there's the problem. This feels like a bigger issue, and honestly, I think it comes down to Triple H stepping back. When he first took over creative from Vince McMahon, he was all in. He was probably writing most of the shows himself, making sure every detail was strong, while also trying to balance his role as Chief Content Officer. But now, I think he's trusting the creative team to handle more of the workload while he oversees the big picture stuff. And while I understand that, the problem is that you need someone with a strong vision actively guiding creative, especially when your show is 3 hours long. And that's the difference. When Triple H is hands-on, you see the difference. Looking at the John Cena Cody Rhodes storyline, that has been handled with care, and it's been phenomenal. The CM Punk Roman Reigns Seth Rollins story is also picking up steam and is about to hit its peak. But outside of those, a lot of other storylines are lacking. The women's championship feuds feel like they're on autopilot, and there are so many talented wrestlers not even being used properly. This roster is stacked, and yet somehow SmackDown feels thin at times. So what's the solution? There are only two answers. Either SmackDown goes back to 2 hours, or WWE needs to do a serious creative overhaul. And honestly, they can call me if they need ideas, because I have plenty. Yeah, I know I talk a lot about news and rumors from Fightful Select, but there's a reason for that. They're more right than they are wrong. When they report something, there's usually some credibility behind it. Meanwhile, the Wrestling Observer newsletter, that's a different story. Dave Meltzer just makes things up half the time these days. He'll throw out speculation, act like it's fact, and when it doesn't happen, he just moves on like he never said it. Fightful actually does the work. That's why I tend to trust them more. Now, Fightful is reporting that Britt Baker, who hasn't been seen on AEW programming since November, has not been released and will remain under contract for quite some time. But let's be real, if she doesn't return to AEW programming soon, she's gone. Wade Keller of the PW Torch reported that back in January, that Tony Khan was fed up with Baker's behavior backstage and that nobody wanted to see her back. And that all stemmed from an incident involving her and MJF. Now, what exactly happened, we don't fully know. But if Tony Khan is that annoyed and if nobody wants her back, then what are we even doing here? AEW is already letting people out of their contracts. We've seen Penta jump ship to WWE. Ricky Starks, now going by Ricky Saints, is in WWE appearing on NXT. Ray Phoenix and Malachi Black seem to be WWE bound too. AEW's roster is bloated, and now they're finally realizing that they can't keep everybody. They signed almost every single talent that WWE let go, and now it's coming back to bite them. They have an overinflated roster, and now they're stuck having to trim the fat. I think Britt Baker could be next in line to get released, and if that happens, I would not be surprised if WWE picks her up. She looks like a star, she cuts good promos, and while her in-ring work needs refining, especially her selling, she has the foundation to be successful. If she did sign with WWE, I could see her starting in NXT to sharpen her skills before jumping to the main roster. And if she goes to WWE, she's got to drop the stomp. That's Seth Rollins' move, and there's no way that WWE lets her keep it. Now, TNA could also jump at the chance to sign her. She'd be a big name for them. But the real question is, what does Britt Baker want? Because if she's stuck in AEW doing nothing, and if AEW doesn't even want her there, then what's the point? At that rate, she might as well just move on. Because AEW's got real problems when it comes to talent getting lost in the shuffle. Alright, that's going to do it for this week's episode. We covered a lot today, some exciting things, some frustrating things, and plenty to think about. But more importantly, I want you to think about everything we talked about and form your own opinions. Don't just take my word for it. Agree, disagree, challenge what I said. That's what makes wrestling discussions fun. I've always believed that debate is what keeps this community interesting. I respect anyone who comes at things with their own perspective, even if I don't see eye to eye with them. The problem is when disagreement turns into disrespect. That's what makes the IWC such a toxic place sometimes. We can go back and forth all day. By the end of the day, we're all wrestling fans. So whether you're with me or against me on some topics, let's keep the conversation going, but the right way. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you all next time.